Hey you guys, it's me Kianna coming at you today, and I'm coming at you. I wanted to do a video because you hear so many different answers to this question. A lot of people say that with the gastric sleeve or the lap band that you cannot experience physically the dumping syndrome. And the dumping syndrome, if you haven't heard about it, is quite an experience. It's something that happens when you eat something or try to eat something, and your body is not able to digest it, or it's just not the time for you to digest it, or it's too fatty, or maybe too fattening, or it's a lot of different reasons. Just simply Google it. And you can even look on YouTube and find actually people that's having the dumping syndrome, and they've actually recorded it live so people can actually see it. Well, like I said, if you know anything about the dumping syndrome, many people say that you can't experience it only if you've had the gastric bypass. That is quite a difference in all three: the lap band, the gastric sleeve, and the gastric bypass. Your body handles things differently. It's quite a difference in surgeries, before, after, and during. Um, and like I said, that's one of the things that gastric bypass patients have, or potentially have. Well, being a newly gastric sleeve patient, and having had my gastric sleeve and on my tool in place now for just a minute, I can tell you that I don't know if it's called the dumping syndrome that I've experienced, but I can tell you that I felt something that is very similar by definition to the dumping syndrome, and I haven't had the gastric bypass. I've had the gastric sleeve. Um, how do I explain it? Well, a lot of people say that they break out with the dumping syndrome, that is. They break out in a cold sweat, and they have pains in their chests, and they vomit, and some people don't do any of those things. Some people just have the pains. Some people just vomit. Some people have the cold sweat. It's all different. It's all different things that you can go through. Well, what I had was pains in my chest, and a little bit like in the top of my stomach. Um, I vomit, which was the worst feeling in the world. Um, you guys, I know it doesn't feel good to vomit, but I felt like a little bit more, I would have had to call an ambulance. That's how bad it was. It was the worst feeling in the world. And guess what I did it over? Something that people that had the gastric sleeve, have no problem with consuming. You know how you do so much research, and certain things you commonly see amongst people that have the gastric sleeve, like certain things that they eat. You always see people eating Greek yogurt. You see people eating cottage cheese. You see people eating tuna. You see people eating things like sardines. You see people eating things like seafood. Um, because those things are commonly more digestible, especially when you're starting out with solids or whatever. They're more digestible commonly than maybe some ground beef or some ground turkey or something like that. So, given the fact that a lot of things are going to be trial and error, some things you're not going to be able to research. Now, you can research to know about it, but that does not necessarily mean that that's going to happen to you. A lot of things, unfortunately, is going to be trial and error. A lot of things you're going to have to see if, hey, can I tolerate this? And try it and see. It's not something that you can guess. Um, my dumping syndrome came on with eating 2 shrimp cocktail. I had the whole ring. Of course, I knew I was going to be able to eat the whole ring. I knew that. Um, but I had two of the medium shrimp, and I dipped it in a little bit of cocktail sauce because, of course, being a gastric sleeve patient, sauce, little things like that makes things go down a little bit better for us. So I dipped it in a little bit of cocktail sauce. And less than 10 minutes later, I found myself vomiting and daddy holding back my lace wig to make sure that that didn't get. Yes, it was the worst feeling in the world, you guys. It was the worst feeling. Um, it's not like just regular, you know how you just vomit and, it feels horrible, but it was so much worse than that. It was like 5 times worse than that, you guys. And yes, over 2 shrimp. Now, let me tell you what happened with my mindset. Immediately after that, I was afraid to eat anything but sugar-free popsicles. And that's not good. But it's in my mind. Even now, I'm afraid to eat because I'm afraid of experiencing what I experienced. And that's part of the process. But what what should happen and what you need to do is so that you don't develop an unhealthy relationship with food in the whole another direction. Um, what you need to do is make sure you recognize it, you tackle it, bring this up in your counseling sessions or any of your support group meetings or whatever. But you definitely want to not have this an issue, because what it can do is it can trigger something inside your head to make you fearful of food. Before we were fearful of food at times because that we saw was what got us in the position that we're in physically, with being overweight, obese, morbidly obese, super obese, whatever you want to call it. So we don't want it to be we're obsessed with food, having an unhealthy relationship in one direction, and then going all the way on the other side and being fearful of food because of the dumping syndrome or whatever symptoms you may have that made you basically your body reject that food. It does at times trigger that response triggers whenever you eat. You have that in the back of your head, so you don't want to do that. So I am working on that because I am a little fearful of eating. I don't like to do it now. It's like an ordeal. It's like such a thought process that has to go into it. I have to think what my body's going to be able to have, if my body's going to reject it, if it's going to feel okay going down, if it's going to be only one spoonful that I'll be able to consume or two, how I'm going to feel after I eat only 1 or 2 tablespoons when I would like to have the whole dish. Um, Watching everybody else around you, enjoying the meal that you wish you could have, you wish that you can eat. Um, it's an ordeal. That's the word I could just tell you. It's an ordeal. And because it's like work, I don't like to do it now. Where, like I said in another video, I used to live to eat, and now I really know what it feels to eat to live, and it's not fun. It's not fun. It's not fun just looking at your body as a machine, and just consuming just enough for your body to be able to function and to be able to run and have the vitamins and nutrients it needs. It's not fun, but it's necessary. It's not fun, but it's necessary. It's necessary for me because I was to the extreme. I was one of those people that could not stop. And even if I knew how to stop for a little while, the key word is for a little while. And then because I had stopped for a little while, I would go back. When I did go back, I would go back with full force. And what it did for me is it made me gain the weight back. So that's why it was important for me to go to the extreme, if you want to call it that, and have the gastric sleeve. I found that even despite all of these things I'm saying, dumping syndrome, feeling like you have to, eating is an ordeal, feeling like, you know, you don't really want to eat. You no longer live to eat, but you eat to live. You feel like a machine. You feel like you're only eating for function. Um, feeling the mental aspect of everything. Even despite all of that, it's still the best investment that I have made for myself, and also for my family. It's really funny how something that is helping me physically was the best investment I could have made for myself and my family. So even despite the mental issues that you may have to try to like tackle this, and make you normal, um, and make you think normally about food and things like that, even despite all of these things, I would do it again. I would do it again. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. Needless to say, I won't be eating any more shrimp no time soon. I can tell you that because every time I see shrimp, I'm going to think of that. I haven't gotten past that. I probably won't get back past that for a long time, you guys. I can't lie about that. And I love fried shrimp, but I was going to be have fried shrimp for a long time anyway. So the fact I can't have like sauteed shrimp and things like that, not a big deal. But won't be eating any of it for a long time. So on that note, you guys, I love you all so much. I will talk to you guys later. And thank you for stopping past, encouraging, uplifting, and supporting. Be blessed.